Winter is here in the Adirondack Mountains. We're in Lake Placid in upstate New York, the venue for the opening race weekend of the BMW IBSF Skeleton and Bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Lake Placid resident John Morgan. We're ready for the second run of the men's skeleton season opener. And John, the dice are stacked nicely. We've got a great race on our hands.
The same three guys who were top three in the World Cup last year, well, they're the leaders in this event today. Sung Bin Young with a spectacular start time. Cam Dundee, the Iron Man as we call him, comes down the track and he posted the best time until the next two guys came down. The Olympic gold medalist from Russia, Alexander Trechikov, was up next. And, you know, the guy we call the Rocket Man, well, great start, best start of the competition, 79, just off the start record, and he does what he does best, glides down the track with that tall, skinny frame, and he's in second place, changing the guy we call Superman, because he's won about 50 of the last 60 races in this sport. The only thing he doesn't have, Olympic gold medals, and he's aiming to do that this year. Martin Stucars, the yellow jersey, because he won the World Cup last year, he won the World Championships last year, he's won everything in sight the last 10 years, and he's a great sportsman, and no doubt the guy who probably will win this race.
Well, it's going to be a tough battle. The top three covered by a tenth of a second, could go any way. But behind, it is all about the scraps from the table. Axel Jung, a great fourth place run ahead of Thomas Tukur and Nikita Tregibov. Look at Wang Chengeng of China, ninth place on his World Cup debut. Vladislav Marchenkov, the Russian, also a World Cup debutant, top 12, ahead of the returning John Daly. And Kevin Boyer from the tail end of the field drives himself firmly into the race. Jerry Rice, Dave Krisheshin, John Farrow are the final of our top 20. From Hiro Takahashi on down. Those guys outside the top 20 in the first heat do not go through into heat two, including a few more debutants like Alex Hansen, Vladislav Harachkitchev of the Ukraine, and a couple more. Well, yesterday it was fall in the Adirondack National Park. Today, winter has hit with a vengeance. Track temperatures yesterday with the artificial ice cranked up to -2. Today, nature's done its job. It's -7 on the ice, and that's warmer than the air by several degrees. Tom Parsons there, and alongside him, Christopher Groothair making adjustments to their sleds. And maybe that's... Yeah, maybe the sleds and the track temperature, that's played a part in some unusual results, because after mild conditions and relatively warm ice in training during this week, the temperature difference today, I'm sure, has thrown a few off their calculations.
The weather outside is frightful compared to inside the track. They've redone this whole track. Yep. It's almost totally enclosed except for down in the chicane.
Well, there is our start list. We go 20 down to 1, reverse order of their first heat performance, which means the leader is always last to go, adding a bit of extra jeopardy, as if you need that with Trechikov and Yun. Trechikov and Dukurs have won the last 2 years. Yun was silver 2 years ago behind Martins, bronze last year behind Trechikov and Matt Antoine. First of our 20 sleds. The second run of the season opener in men's skeleton is Canada's Dave Krisheshin, the ex-rugby playing travelling teacher. A 5:04 getaway, a couple of hundreds better than his first start.
17th in this race last year, and when he got to Europe, he only had two top 20 finishes, and when he went on to Pyeongchang, Korea, though, 12th in the pre-Olympic test. So the Grizz, who lists one of his favorite vacation spots in his bio as North Korea, because he is a traveling teacher. We had to question him about that. But one of the bigger guys in the field, like you said, there's 3 athletes in the field look like they should be in the bobsled competition.
Well, highlight of his season last year was a great 10th place run in the World Championships in Koenigsegg, Bavaria. And other than that, it wasn't the season he wanted. However, you're going to have a throwaway year. Last year was the one to do it.
Ooh, hits there in the uphill section. That's a no-no. It's a gravity sport. You're going uphill, you hit right before the finish line. Not good for your bottom time.
Okay, now then, let's talk about temperatures. His first run, a 54.94. Those are the same numbers, but they're changed around. That's a 54.49. So he's getting off a half a second quicker. Has the tracks, has the air temperature changed? Has the track surface changed? Another look at that great livery on his sled.
Well, you know, these lines here, you can see there's some snow on the track.
Lots of snow in the track now.
Rooster tail coming up there. Good line, straight. Then here's where he bumps. See, it's an uphill section. You don't see it on TV. That's a real steep uphill there. You tap like that before you hit that Omega finish line, and that's not optimum, that's for sure. But the Grizz is the leader. There's 19 more to go.
First of whom is Jerry Rice, the 27-year-old from Great Britain, making his World Cup debut. He's had a couple of races here in the Intercontinental Cup, the second tier of sliding. He had one bronze medal, and he's had a bronze medal in the North America's Cup, which is the kind of junior level. You can see the British girls supporting at the top of the track as well.
Technique. Get on that sled. We haven't seen anybody come out of the grooves. Probably won't today because the grooves look pretty well set. Better start, 100 worse start than his first run. I think he had some problems coming up right here, curve 3.
Yeah. Well, he's had 2 race weekends on this track in his life. This is his 3rd, so he's still learning the intricacies of Lake Placid. But this is a nice, controlled-looking run. 200s behind Dave Kreshcheshin.
Grizz 110.1. It's about similar speed to the Grizz, so you know it's going to be another one of these too close to call, most likely at the bottom. No, he's lost. The speed is way off too there, so Grizz is going to move up one here.
Teammate and travelling compadre Jack Thomas didn't make the cut, but Jerry Rice does on his debut in the World Cup. So 54.92. 100th
off his time in the first run. So yep. Grizz right there, he went a half second better, and the Jeremy Rice went about equal time down there.
He's known as Jerry. I think the only time he gets called Jeremy is when he's in trouble at home with his mum.
So the start list, we should tell him it should Jerry, not Jeremy.
Well, you have to, yeah, it comes off the license, and then the team captain has to tell the jury. We can't just tell timing to change his name, otherwise they'd all be called Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. So a big smile from Jerry Rice.
Well, way up high. Look how his shoulders are way up. Aerodynamic form at 70+ miles an hour you need there. I think he was too high in the sled, and I'm sure his coach, a lot of people you see put their head down there.
Yeah.
Have fun back home. Love you.
Love you too, Jerry. Yeah, that comes with experience, the knowledge that you're on the right line rather than having to check that you're on the right line. Now, one of the big stories I thought in the first heat was the performance of this young man, John Farrow, in what he says will definitely be his last season on ice. This could be the best that he's had. He's had a catalogue of injuries that have really hindered him in terms of speed at the start.
So they stopped after 2 sleds. They're sweeping after 2 sleds now?
They're sweeping after 2 now, are they? Well, maybe it's a little more. There is definitely snow in the air, and it is blowing into the track.
So we just got the word from the truck that they're going to sweep after this first 2. Then after that, it's going to be 3. So there's going to be delays in TV.
More confusion.
And...
yeah. Well, Rob with the sled, helping with the coaching, and the... Australian John Farrow, one of 2 Aussies in the field. His teammate Dean Timmings, Dean or Nick was that? Now I've forgotten immediately which of the Timmings twins it was. It was Dean, wasn't it, in the first heat? So he didn't make the cut, but John Farrow did. He had a good slide, only 30th start, but at least he's not running with that carbon fiber support on his ankle anymore.
19th and 16th in the opening 2 events last year in Whistler, and here in Lake Placid. Rest of the season, we did not see him. Of course, he was dealing with injuries.
And budget and everything else, yeah. Didn't have enough money to travel for the entire season. He's going to try and do that this year, you'd think, because he needs the points to get himself ranked and hopefully into the Olympic selection. 3rd place at the start, a 5:32 getaway leaves him a long way behind.
Way back.
But the good news is he's in the top 20, so he cannot drop out of the top 20.
Decent speed, though, for the deficient start.
And he came back, didn't he, in the second part of the run yesterday.
The best speed of the best of the 3 sleds so far.
Yeah.
But he's going to run out of track.
Luckily, it's a decent length, this run, and will he close a little? No, drift away further, so I think that's probably him at the bottom of the pile.
55.22, so he's, 2,900 slower.
Yeah.
And again, we saw Grizz go 40 something hundreds faster.
Half a second or so faster, Grizz. So, and that might move him a little way up the order as well. If Grizz had been half a second faster in the first heat,
yeah, he'd been way down there.
he would be in the top 12.
Yeah. So his head's up here, big rooster tail. So you wonder why they're sweeping. There's a lot of snow blowing into the track. Not really. There's a roof over it. You can see behind you. There's the roof, 11, 12, and 13 right behind him, all covered up.
Well, the good news is it is very cold, so it is very crystallized. It's not big, wet snow. So hopefully you'll just flurry through it. Next up for Canada again is Barrett Martineau. Our 3 Canadian athletes come up in a little 4-sled package. On the left-hand side with long dark hair, Jane Chandler, Canada, raced in the women's competition yesterday in skeleton.
Another great helmet.
Yeah, another bear. 2 of the 3 have got the bear. Kevin Boyer has got a native art representation of a beaver on his helmet.
Good start. 5:06, 5:07 first run. A little too much of 3, but corrected well into the white face curve. Now into the Devil's Highway, they call this 3-corner combination. Watch the back end of the sled coming up right here.
Just creeping away from his teammate.
Little rough transition, 6 to 7. That one is shady. Ooh. Launch yourself down there in a slingshot. The speed is well off the pace.
Yeah, Grizz is going to stay in the leader's box. Bear was only 300ths ahead of Grizz in the first heat. He's now 3/10 back. A lot of work going on from the hips on down, and that's just trying to find the balance on the sled.
One of the latest out of 18-19 we've seen, and third best time, 54.96. So the Bear doesn't do well. 500ths worse, and the Grizz hangs out in the leader's box, which is a great strategy in this sport, spending a lot of time in that leader's box.
It's going to be cold, though. Barrett Martineau throws his head in his hands. He knows that got away from him. Whether he changed the rock on the sled to be a bit more aggressive for a little bit more speed and with it a little less control, whatever, it looked wild and loose. That can be fast, but that wasn't as fast as he needed.
Toes out. You see the rooster tail coming up. Head, you know, he's a little bit down. His time was gone before he got to shady.
Yeah. Feet doing a lot more tap dancing than he wanted, and the body language tells you what you want to know. USA making noise at the start. This is Greg West, who was the first of 31 sleds out of the shed. Great new looking helmet livery from him. He's had a couple of call-ups into the World Cup before, but he says, as far as he's concerned, this is his official World Cup debut because he earned the spot in selection and is in from day one.
Yeah, he won the first 2 races in Calgary, so I think he surprised a few of his teammates.
Now he's fired up to do a good start. He did 5:01 in selection training, 5:07.
25th best start time in the first run, and that was not what you expect out of this guy. And of course, he did our commentary yesterday for the women's race. He's going to have to find a way to negotiate the track he's more familiar with than Grizz.
Well, all these guys are really tight. He was in 16th place. Grizz in 20th was only 500ths of a second behind him. So we had 5 sled covered by 500ths. And he's now dropped behind.
Speed isn't that good. He's going to have 116 and change, which is about 74 miles an hour plus. 115. Speed's way off. Now the question is, he could fall 2 or 3 places. No speed here. Greg West.
Long skid there as well towards the bottom of the run and avoids the wall just, but
5th best time of the run, drops 4 places all the way to 19th place. Grizz having an apple now. Greg West will go back to the drawing board and figure out what happened there.
Yep. Well, it's been a weird week in terms of ice temperature and conditions. Visor fogged up, is he saying?
Here's 11-12. Boy, his head way up there.
Yeah, couldn't see where he was going. And you're doing 75 miles an hour with your chin on the ice. You need to know where you're going.
Here, this is where he's still trying to recover. You know, he's over on the wrong side of that chicane. In fact, he's taken way more of the chicane than he wanted to.
Well, the season can only get better. He made the cut at least in the first heat, but couldn't see where he was going. And that's going to be tough for Greg West. Dave Greshcheshin of Canada leads from Jerry Rice and Barrett Martineau. 5 down, 15 to come in Lake Placid. Kevin Boyer of Canada from the west of Canada with some native art on his helmet, representation of the beaver. See the big teeth, and he says, every athlete's greatest sponsors, mum and dad. Bunker mum and dad just fund everybody for so many years. And another great helmet, another great looking belly pan as well on his Bromley sled.
This is that little delay we have now because of the track sweeping.
So from here on, we'll be sweeping every third sled. And again, you know, Kevin Boyer was a 10th ahead of Greg West, so 1500ths over Dave Kreszczeshin. And on this track, you can lose that with one missed steer, or you can gain it with one tidied up steer. So Schoolboyer, as he calls himself, little dab at the end of his first run. Let's see if he can delve in and find a bit more pace. It was a good run from the backfield as well. 29th starter out of 31 sleds. And oftentimes you find that track conditions that deteriorated take the speed away. Today the ice is so cold and hard, I think he got as good a playing surface as anyone. Decent start from him in the first heat, 4.99, top 10 starts. Can he go quicker?
He started late in the heat. We really don't know if that was an advantage or not, but with that type of start, you have a chance to compete.
I think today the only advantage is ours. We're sitting inside in the warm while all our colleagues on the TV crew are out in sub-zero temperatures getting the shots for us.
And the cameras, you know, they don't really work in this weather sometimes.
They've done a stand-up job today. And yet another day, I'm glad I'm an announcer, not a cameraman. Through Shady 2, still in the green, 2200s up. So he had 1500s from the first heat. He's on target to almost double that if he can get the chicane right. No, the gap's coming down. Now, what can he find in the heart? His final element of the track.
Still green. Oh, it just turned red, so it's right to the 100th. The question is, oh, he hit there too. Second best time of the run, 54.75. So the Grizz is showing everybody the don't have a good run, get in the leader's box early in the second run, and he's moved up 5 places.
Now, I wonder if he's eating some of the local produce. This area of upstate New York, famous for its apples. Yeah.
A lot of apples. We've been to a lot of apples here. It's been a beautiful fall for eating apples.
Yeah.
And here, look at his head's down. He's doing a lot of right things here. Looks very comfortable, quiet. There's a skid, though.
Now, he comes from Canada, so he knows this track well, right?
This didn't help. That didn't help.
He's had one North America's Cup race here, one World Cup race here. This is his 3rd time ever racing on the track. So just because you're nearby geographically doesn't mean you've got home field advantage. Don Parsons of Great Britain up next. We talked about his venture into the World Cup medals, bronze medal in Calgary back in 2013.
We thought he was on the verge of, this would be a top British skeleton athlete. He hasn't medaled since.
A couple of seasons of injury really robbed him of speed.
Almost injured himself in the first heat. He stepped on his sled getting on, but had a 27th best start, which he's usually a 12th or 15th starter.
Well, let's see, instead of 5.19, what does he get? 5.09. There you go. That's a little more in the ballpark.
So 10 hundredths is 30 hundredths at the bottom. So if you give him 30 hundredths in this heat at the bottom, he would have been 41. He would have been all the way in the top 7 or 8.
Yeah, but 5.09 is still not even a top 20 start. So I think he was being cautious again there, not to repeat the error.
I would think he's going to be the leader at the bottom. Speed 111 here. He's got 10 hundredths, only got a 10 hundredths lead.
He's going away.
111.5 is great speed. So I think he's going to improve upon that. And the next sign will be the 116 kilometers, which is about 74 and a half.
He needs to.
He's got 117 kilometers. So he's going to pull away now. This will be the leader. The speed indicator in the chicane tells you a lot on this skeleton race today, and he taps there.
Just creeps away from the wall. Listen, it's the graveyard of time down there in the heart. The guys who've got the line right in 18 and 19 find a huge leap forward, and the guys that don't, it just bleeds the time away.
Well, that little tap before the finish, I think that's a 10th at least.
That's a fraction, but it's before there that it all goes away.
Well, he had an 1200 lead, then posted some fantastic speed. This is good. I mean, this is a tall 6'3" guy, and head's not totally up. There's Don Parsons. Finally knocks the Grizz out.
Yeah. However, Grizz moved from 20th up into no worse than 14th spot.
A couple big boys there.
15th spot. So John Daly of the USA, 13th after the first heat, looked pretty frustrated with that. He has a 100th of a second advantage over the current leader, Don Parsons of Great Britain.
The start, the first heat, 24th best start. This is one of the best starters in the field when he was competing in the 2014 season.
Earned his spot back in the World Cup at the end of last year by competing here in North America's Cup races while working
Must be something wrong. It's 600 slope. Must be something wrong with John Daly.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
John Daly probably hasn't started 5:15 since his first week here as a freshman.
Yeah, his position in the sport has been relative. He finished 4th at the Olympic Games in Sochi with top starts. Now he's back into the 24th best start. That's just something wrong. Some mechanical, hamstring, groin. But this is not when you want to be not healthy in the Olympic season.
This end of the season, you've got somewhere to go with it. Pick up an injury later in the season, then you really are going to struggle. 3,200's back though. He's going to sink down the order. 6 spots lost.
Dropped 6 places.
He'll end up down in 17th, 18th spot.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a tough run for John Daly.
Well, the start, I said it in the first run. What's he doing way back here? So we'll have to, shame on us for not realizing, getting some information, because there's no way that guy starts like that.
We have no time to get to the top and back down between the heats. Well, John Daly.
This doesn't look too bad, but right there is not good. But his 50-meter start time was his nemesis.
Well, next up, we're into the top 12, and what a story for a World Cup rookie from Russia, the 3rd Russian slider, Vladislav Marchenkov, 21-year-old. He has been here twice. He's had 1 North America's Cup race and 1 Intercontinental Cup race weekend. There are the Russian ladies, Renata Kutsina, and between her and Yulia Kanakina, there's the woman who broke the women's start record twice yesterday, left it at 5:03 with the pink scarf, Elena Nikitina. Gregor said yesterday there'll be a dozen men in the men's field looking enviously at a 5:03. There were probably only 10 who even got to 5:03 or lower in today's bitterly cold conditions. There's Don Parsons, the leader for Great Britain. And Vladislav Marchenkov, I don't know where they found him, but whatever they're doing in recruiting athletes, if he had a beard, right now, you'd say that's Trechikov at the top of the track. He's got that same long, broad-shouldered frame.
Definitely came from track and field.
Yeah.
Still can't believe they've not turned the light on here.
Now he is our 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're sweeping after John Daly for Vladislav Marchenkov. You hear the noise there that signals the 30-second clock has started. 30-second countdown for skeleton athletes, 60 seconds for a bobsleigh start. You have to break the start beam there at 5 meters before the clock gets to 0, or you are excluded. 5 flat. 5:01 in the first heat, 5 dead in the second. Well, he might not be Russian Rocket 3, but the way he slid in the first heat, John, oh boy. Yeah, get him a little, another season of track experience, and suddenly he could be right in among the medals as well.
Well, the start is what separates the Russian Rocket from everybody else.
Trechikov at 34.
His speed is the best of this run on the exit of Shady.
Marchenkov at 21.
Look at this,
3,700 up on Don Parsons, and he was 300. No, I beg your pardon. He was at 500s in front of him in the first heat.
Going to extend his lead.
Wow. Ooh. How much time did he lose? From about 3,900s up to 15 at the line, but he does have the lead, so he will finish no worse than 12th on his World Cup debut. Russian Rocket 3 may not have the afterburners in the start area yet of Tretyakov and Tregyubov, but he can slide some ice.
Very relaxed on the sled. You can see the blowing snow down there in the bottom part of the track. This is just opposite of where they're always sweeping over there on the other side where the chicane is. And a little rough out of a 11-12 combination. Now this drops into 13, and then 14, and then here, the chicane. One of the best epic shots on the whole tour of.
That's the signature shot on this track, isn't it? The chicane, yeah.
One of the signature shots on the whole tour.
No question. So Vladislav Marchenkov, race leader, 21-year-old Russian. Alexander Gassner for Germany next up, as he aims for a spot in the top 10, which was only 400ths away from his grasp in the first heat.
All three German sliders have improved start times.
Now let's see if Gassner can get into the fours.
0-2 the first run.
Coming from Romania, 4.99, there you go. Blowing away a few cobwebs with a sub-5-second start. You know, in this group here, from sort of 4th down to 14th, every 100th could make you a place or lose you a place.
Dead heat.
He was 300ths up on Marchenkov from the first heat. He outstarted him by 1. Now he's got to outdrive the young Russian.
Oh, he's way back by a quarter of a second. We didn't see where he lost it, but he's 2 kilometers down, mile and a half down to him at Shady.
So is it the setup of the runners on the sled?
Might have made a mistake up there in 6-7 that we didn't see.
Half a second back.
Oh, this is trouble.
He's going to lose 5 spots. He'll be behind Parsons, Cheshin, behind Boyer.
Difference.
Oh my word, 8 spots down from almost in the top 10 to barely in the top 20. Marchenkov goes, yep, I got this.
Well,
oh, Alex.
I think the track got a Gassner there, and he might have gone for a looser setup because he didn't have much control of that sled on the bottom part of the track, and he's had no speed by the time he got to Shady. Right here, look at the crossover, 16, 17, 18 to 19 here. And this is just
well,
hanging out on the tray for all you're worth right there.
If he'd been a second ahead there, those hits would probably have cost him everything.
Here too,
and
he
hits the
snuck
wall.
through there, but boy.
Yeah. Oh, not the second run he wanted. He wanted to get into the top 10 where his teammates are.
This is in tennis where there's a let. You have to take it all in.
10 down, 10 to go. Vladislav Marchenkov, the Russian rookie, leads on his debut with 10 sleds still to come here in Lake Placid. Hurry up offense because of the weather. Matthias Guggenberger in the top 10 for Austria. Opening race in the Men's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven and John Morgan, your guides trackside.
Googie looks like he's finally healthy. Surgery in April, right after the Pyeongchang test, along with Thomas Dukars. They both had the exact same surgery, knee, and they had it done in Innsbruck, and they rehabbed together, and Googie looks like he's back to being himself.
Now the race leader, Vladislav Marchenkov, has had 2 race weekends here on this track and is making his World Cup debut. Guggenberger is just keeping his head above water.
Great speed here. This is a good run. 112 speed, some of the best we've seen, which is 69 miles an hour.
1400s in front, and this is him going away now, Guggenberger. He was 700s up on the Russian after the first heat.
54-20.
Wow, look at that.
Guggenberger.
Yeah, Mickey, absolutely.
3600s better.
Hey, 54.29 would have left him 7th in the first heat.
2600s better, yeah.
Yep.
So one of the first guys we've seen, you know, we saw the Grizz improved. First guy down, he went a half-second better.
There's Janine Flock, yesterday's race winner, and again, oh no, that's their physio. Janine, his girlfriend, won the women's race yesterday and shattered her own track record to take a 2nd straight win here in Placid.
Look at the speed before the heart. Look at the difference right there. Guggenberger, best speed out of Shady too, so he's a good slider. Just hasn't been healthy.
And he said healthiest he's been in years coming in, and that's after off-season knee surgery.
So he's got a top 10 finish right now.
Yep.
He didn't have a top 10 finish last year.
Probably hasn't had one for 2 or 3 years. I'd need to go back to the records to check it, but there we go. Jeff Payne hasn't had, I was going to say, has he won on this track? Certainly not since 2006, but Jeff Payne, one of the legends of Canadian skeleton sliding, now coaching China. There's your current race leader, Matthias Guggenberger. And if the Russian Vladislav Marchenkov was a bit of a story here in the first heat, then so was this young man. Wen Zhanggang of China, we met him in the World Championships last year for the first time. Around 6'1", 6'2", long, slender frame, making his World Cup debut. John, he's had 5 races here in his career. 22-year-old.
So there's Jeff Payne, the Olympic silver medalist at the 2006 Winter Olympic Games in Torino. I told the story in the first heat. His run down the track on the bottom on his side, and he still came across the finish line with a silver medal. Lost it to his teammate Duff Gibson. The Canadians went 1-2. And here he is heading the Chinese program. Remarkable results for this athlete in only 2 years. He's been sliding for 2 years. He's up in the top 10 of his first ever World Cup. Tells you the direction the sport's going.
And it wasn't off a superhuman start. 5:02 was good. 13th equal, but not, you know, what melted the opposition. He's got 5 flat. There you go. Few of those first night nerves from the opening heat have gone. He's got that square-shouldered frame, much like a Trechikov, and tall, lanky. You know, when we asked Payne about him, Payne told me a year ago, this guy gets it. This is, and so there's only one China athlete out here. It's because this guy's been finishing top 10 in the America's Cup, North America's Cup, Europa Cup, and this is his World Cup debut. Just missed the top 20 at the World Championships last year in Koenigsegg, 21st. Look at the form, though. Look at his aerodynamic form. He's come down to unbelievable speed. 1000s in front from 1400s. That was that big flop off 12, but he was quick in the bottom
here without hitting. Wow, he's in the lead. 54.27, the fastest time of the run. You know, 1800s better. China has arrived in skeleton.
Yes, sir. What a season this is going to be for this young man.
2022 Winter Olympic Games. They'll probably roll out 10 more of them before then, but this guy gets it. As Jeff Payne says it. He gets it.
Well, here's the standard bearer for Chinese sliding on ice, and boy, that is a good way to start your World Cup career.
This is 11-12 combination. Gets up a little too high there. The curve sucks him up to the roof and corrects out of there. Great speed all the way down the track. Exit is shady.
Not going to pick up many bruises in Park City in a week. He's going to go and get his jacket first.
Got nobody down there to help him.
Hester, our floor manager, trying to shoo him into the leader's box. I'm going to freeze. Next up then, Germany's Christopher Groothaar. 8th place finish in the first heat. And that was a good run from him, but he was only 800s in front of our current leader. So he needs a big effort here to stay in front of Gang the Chinese.
7th in this race last year, but he followed it up with it in Altenburg. He won the competition. And not bad in Pyeongchang 8th. But so this guy broke onto the podium last year.
Yep, 1 podium finish, 1 win. It was his first World Cup win ever. If you're going to win somewhere, Altenburg, what a tough track that is. It's got to be similar here, a real driver's track. 700s ahead at the start, 700s ahead still. 300s behind.
Speed, probably 110 or 11. 111, yeah, that's not the speed the Chinese sled just had.
Needs a good exit there. He gets it. That's where Gang of China lost some time. No, it's not coming back. Oh, boy.
Back. Now the question is, how many spots? The other German sled fell 8 spots.
Yeah, Alexander Gassner. I wonder if the Germans have gone completely the wrong way on the sled setup.
7th best time, falls 2 spots.
3 spots back.
So now our friend from China, Mr. Young, he's in the top 8. We're seeing records here today. No Chinese athlete ever. They never competed. It's their first ever World Cup competition. He was in the World Championships, but he's no worse than 8th, and it could improve. But I think you're right. The Germans might have gone with a different, more aggressive setup in the second run, because both German athletes have been pretty loose coming down the track.
Last German to win on this track, Frank Rommel. Morning, Frank. Back in 2009, led a German 1-2. Sandro Stielicher was behind him. Martins Ducours then only in the bronze medal position. Matt Antoine, winner on this track in the 2013-14 season, ahead of Alexander Tretyakov and Thomas Ducours. No Martin Ducours on the podium that day here either.
Well, Matt, the bronze medalist from the Sochi Olympic Games, didn't have the run in the first run I thought he would have. Only had the 18th best start of 5:05.
Let's see what he can produce in the second heat. Needs more speed at the start. It is coming back. He said he's faster now than he's been since Sochi.
So 5.3, 5.4 would be an improvement. 5.3. So the first part of his strategy works. Improve at the start. Speed there, excellent. Now the exit of 3 into whiteface, and now they enter what they call the Devil's Highway for good reason. The challenges for these athletes. Watch the back end of the sled right here. Good transition, 6 to 7, 8. He's smooth, but he's got no speed, and he's down 100th. And the 1:11.8 is about a half a kilometer down to the China sled who's in the leader's box.
Yep. Gang of China is moving up the order at the expense of
17.6 is excellent. We've seen athletes find the speed in the bottom. He's got good speed. He could do it if he's smooth coming uphill here. Right to the 100.
Right across the line, 500s back.
The China, Mr. Gang there, has just beaten all 3 Americans.
Yep.
Wow.
6 sleds left, and our World Cup debutant, Wang Zhengang of China, is leading the race.
Hey, it's great for the sport if the Koreans win medals at this year's Olympics. It'll be even greater if Mr. Gang can do this type of performance at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Because the next Winter Olympics are in Beijing in 2022.
Well, when we get to Europe, he might be struggling for track knowledge, but the confidence of being able to start here with a boost. There is a man in his first ever World Cup race, so shy and polite, just 22 years old.
Never been on this stage.
Yeah.
And he's here with the best in the world. You know, Matt Antoine won the bronze medal in Sochi.
The guys he raced against here in North America's Cup and Intercontinental Cup, predominantly, we won't have seen any of them ever on TV yet.
Gang probably couldn't spell skeleton 4 years ago.
No. Now we're going to have to make sure it's seen cool running, so right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. 6 to go. The Russian girls at the top of the track making a bit of noise for the Russian Rockets 2, Nikita Tregibov. And Wang Zhengang of China is the man who leads the race. Will he break the top half dozen? He's already, I'm sure, outperformed what Jeff Payne thought might be possible. Now we're into real fantasy territory for the Chinese. If he can pick off a guy like Nikita Tregibov, who's nobody's fool.
He's got a big lead, though, 3700ths.
Yes, he does.
There's our leader. First time he's ever been in a leader's box. First ever World Cup he's been in.
This is all gravy for him. Really, you know, everything now is just on the up.
It's just going to fuel the fire back there in China. So here comes the green light for the junior Russian rocket. Didn't start the way I thought he would in the first run.
Tretyakov complained to us a couple of years ago, didn't he, when we were in Sochi about this kid. Yeah, 24-year-old, this young guy. There's a 21-year-old.
488.
Wow, that's a great start.
495 in the first run, so
that's more like it.
Different afterburner there. Little tap, straight. Yep. Devil's Highway. Smooth. Boy, huge lead now. Let's watch the back end. The transition here at 6-7 coming up right here.
That's clean. Nice. That's really clean.
6,100 speed, 112, 13, 111. Not the speed the China sled had, but he's got a lot of time in the bank.
In fact, his teammate Marshenkov is the fastest at that
116.7 is very good. That's 73.4. He's going to lose time back. Won't be 60 hundredths up. It'll be 30 hundredths probably, but now, is this good enough to move up the ladder?
Yeah. Oh, and he holds the speed in the heart.
54.15. Well, it's 700 slower than his first run down the track.
Well, those Willie Schneider sleds work well on this Lake Placid track. They should work really well next week in Park City, Utah as well. So there is Nikita Tregibov, takes the lead away from Weng Chen Keng. Whatever else Weng has done, he has certainly put his name into the fray.
Real low there. That's in the 11-12 combination.
Gets away with it though.
Yeah,
just breezes
but
the
all
wall.
that steering there, that's steering. Steering is friction. Friction is loss of time. This is good here, and the head's 3/4 down. That shield is pretty tough to pick him up.
Yeah. Nikita Tregibov leads with 5 to go. Next up is a man who was just 100th of a second quicker than the current leader in the first heat, Thomas Ducours. Last on the podium 2 years ago in a bronze medal. He took a bronze medal 2 years before that as well. Took a silver behind his brother Martin, 2012-13.
4th in this race. Last year,
he had a slip at the start in the first heat. That's better, 4.99. 5.03 was, 5.09 rather, was what cost him in the first heat.
2nd place in Winterberg, his best finish of the year. But most importantly, he was 3rd in Pyeongchang at the pre-Olympic test. His brother, who's leading the race, he was 1st. 1500s. Well, he has some work cut out for him. He's going to need high 112 speed, which is coming up right here on the exit of Shady. He's 15 to 13, 113 speed, 112.4. He's really going to have to be perfect down here to have a chance. That tap there didn't help. 116 high, yeah, there's 116 high down to 10. He's going to run out of track unless he finds, like his brother, some magical line down here.
Well, there's no secrets in the family. If Martins knows it and Thomas can drive it, he doesn't get in.
54.27. So
Tregibov moves up. 4 to go. He leads.
Well, he got beat by 1100s at the bottom. He was beat by 1100s at the start. So he outdrove him. Just ran out of track.
Still the snow flowing around down here at the Lake Placid track.
Let's watch his start here.
He's the leader.
Concentration issue. Is he in rhythm here? Oh, come out of the grooves there. So what does that do to your psyche? I mean, he improved at the start. So
yeah, well, he had such a bad first start.
Our guys in the truck picked that up. We didn't see it. That was great.
Well, that's why we have talent.
We're the talent.
No. That's just a union term, John. You know that, and I know that. The real talent is out there in the ice and in the truck, working hard. And 4 to go.
This is for the medals now.
Nikita Tregibov leads. Well, actually, they're too far away. Axel Jung, 3700s off the lead. 2700s out of the medals in the first heat. This is for best of the rest.
Well, the other 2 German sleds have faltered. It'll be interesting to see if Axel Jung went for the same radical setup. 483, great start like he had
the first run. Enormous start.
49 in the first run, 43 that run. That's excellent.
Well, he came into last year, almost limping. He was a bit injured. Best result of the season, bronze medal in Altenburg, silver in the World Championships in Koenigsegg. I mean, that was an epic race for him. Really put Martins Ducours under pressure.
8 to 7 speed, 111.7. That's not great speed. So perfect lines will give him a chance.
He's as quick as Tregibov was at that
117.5 is excellent speed. So this should be the leader. I don't know if it's going to be enough for the top 3.
He's not going to catch the top 3. This isn't for a medal, but he will be the best of the rest.
So obviously he didn't have the radical setup the other 2 German sleds have. And Jens Mueller, the gold medalist from the 88 Olympic Games in Luge for East Germany. He at least has 1 athlete in the top 4, which is mission accomplished for the German program.
Yeah. To get a medal, though, he can't take one. Somebody's going to have to give it away. And do you know what? Sungbin Young, Alexander Tretyakov, Martins Ducours, they're too greedy to do that. They don't give stuff away.
There's the field, and then there's these top 3 coming up. But Axel Jung, not great speed and Shady, but here, the 4th best speed. The guys that go earlier than him have better ice to work with. But Guggenberger had the best speed to date.
Well, that's a good start to the season for him. Can be no worse than 4th. Worst results for him last year were only 7th. Didn't quite get the race win. 2 podium finishes.
So here is the Sungbin Young. Now we've had the Russian Rocket is yet to come. This is the Iron Man. If you look at his sled and his helmet, it's painted up into the Iron Man. So we got the Russian Rocket, we got Iron Man, And the last guy down on the race will be Superman, who we call him. So we got a little
Young. Can he take the
Marvel
medal?
comics here.
Yeah, we do. Axel Young currently leading from Nikita Tregibov and Thomas Ducours. Martin Haven, John Morgan trackside at a snowy Lake Placid, watching the action with you. Sunbin Young back in the start house, waiting for the sweeping delay. Coach Richard Bromley, as ever, hanging on to the Bromley sled. And Young doesn't want to let 1 degree of temperature go out of those enormous quads because he knows he needs a big start. 10th of a second, John Morgan covering the top 3 after the first heat. The medals are all between these 3 men, but who's going to come out with a win? Sunbin Young of Korea going into the final run of the season opener in the Men's Skeleton World Cup. He's had a silver medal here, he's had a bronze medal here, he has never won in Lake Placid in the World Cup. Axel Young, our current leader, he needs a bit of a gift if he's going to be in the medals. 3 to go.
481 in the first run. This could be a 477, 478. We've seen a couple sleds just come quicker on this start track. 482. So he's 100 slower. Very powerful athlete.
Well, that's great news for Axel Young, the current leader, because he started 483, and anybody who gets near to Yun or Tretiakov or Ducours in the start, you know you're flying.
You can see he's got 4/10 lead, and the other way Axel Young's going to be the leader if Young finds a way to crash. Speed should be 113. Ooh, he lifts up there, 111, not the best speed. You saw him lift his toes up there.
Toe drag, but 4600s up at the last split, and
that's good speed there, 117.2. I don't know that's going to be enough to catch the 2 coming up. But
our Chinese rookie had the best speed there, 69.9 miles an hour.
53.89. Well, that is 1,300 slower than his first run. That's a medal, though. Richard Bromley celebrates.
Not sure that's good enough for gold. It might be another bronze.
Well, you know, he's got a history on this track of 3rd last year. He was 2nd in Pyeongchang at the pre-Olympic test and disappointingly fell from the 1st position to 2nd, but there's nothing wrong with a silver medal.
Just ain't gold.
This is the most successful Korean athlete in this sport ever by far. He's got the whole package, the power, the instinct, good coaching. He's on a Bromley sled. He's won before, and you know, what are those things we bet when we go to the racetrack, trifectas? Well, between him, Tretiakov, and Ducours, I think it's a pretty good trifecta you could bet. That's going to be the 3 on top of the leaderboard.
Now, the real genius is in working out who's going to be top of the top. Alexander Tretiakov was 500s ahead of Sunbin Young, the current leader, 500s adrift of Martin Ducours, the first round leader.
79 start in the first round. Let's see what the Russian rocket, 479 again. Great entry speed onto the sled. The exit 54.2 is even better.
11 to 12.
He got around that first curve well.
11 to 12 was really a bit uncomfortable for him in the first heat.
Also 6-7. Remember, he almost came off the sled. He's only 200s up. That's not a good sign. Must mean that that exit of 3-4 cost him a little bit. There it is again.
Not as dramatic this time. He tidied it up.
111.
Cost him speed. Young was really
5. Similar speed, but boy, he was fast at the bottom. Tretiakov, who's done well on this track before, including winning here last year, Lake Placid. He's 200s behind.
Ooh, he's going to
speed is going to be.
Don't forget, he found speed in the heart last time. What's he got this time?
Can't touch the wall here.
Up to the line.
There he has 600s.
Yun is in the silver medal position. He's had a bronze, he's had a silver on this track in the last 2 years.
Tretiakov made the mistake up top. Curve 3 to 4. Because he should have had more of a lead, 7, 8, 10 hundredths out. He was only 200ths out, so the mistake was made up before curve 4.
So it's been a tricky track for him. He's had golds and 1 gold, a couple of silvers, a couple of bronze medals, but only that 1 win last season ever in Lake Placid.
So this is down in the chicane, where he was really good in the first run. And slight skid, feet up in the air.
First success here was back in the rainy 2009 Worlds Men's Skeleton race. He took bronze behind Adam Pengilly and eventual winner Gregor Staley.
Okay.
Martins Ducour's the last man to win a world championship here. That was his first win on the track. He's now going for win number 5 since 2012's race in February.
The gold jersey, because he was the World Cup leader, which he's done about 6 straight years. He was the world champion last year. He won the pre-Olympic test in Korea. We call him Superman because he's won 50-plus events, we think, in the last 10 years. He's dominated the sport like Schumacher has in Formula One.
Last year, 4th and 5th in North America. They were testing sleds and all sorts of different runner and sled combinations. They threw the races away to try and get something.
800 Scott, that's that start deficiency he had, but it was a, you know, he's decent. Oh, it's down to 2. 111 and change. 112 speed, though. That means on the first heat, he was ridiculous on the bottom part of the track.
Yeah.
So this is where he is a master. 118 speed like no one else has seen in this heat. And this is what the guy does.
In the heart, he just leapt away from everybody else, and he is going to leap away again.
Another walk in the park for Martins Ducours, and Mr. Sun Yungbing looks on, and he can't do much about that. That's what this guy does.
Well, Sun Bin Young was a 10th behind after 1 heat. He's 11 hundredths behind after 2 heats. Martins Ducours claims victory. Sun Bin Young takes silver, and Alexander Tretiakov slips out of the frame into the bronze medal position.
And his signature, into the camera. We've seen that about 50 times in the last 10 years.
He's as cool as ice when he's sliding and preparing, and there the emotion. I don't think this guy is just an automaton, because he's far from it.
If these 3 are healthy, this will be the standings at the Olympic Games. And look at the difference. 1700ths from Tretiakov, 5800ths for Axel Young. So there's 4/10 difference between the top 3 and the rest of the field.
Yeah. These 3 are going to make it an epic Olympic race.
I mean, he doesn't make mistakes. Look at, I mean, where's the mistake here?
Yeah. and his history is what haunts him now. He went into the 2010 games as the runaway favorite. John Montgomery got him.
He had the lead into the 3rd run. After the 3rd run, Montgomery got him in the 4th run.
And he went to Sochi as the best slider in the world, and Tretiakov got him. He's going to go into Pyeongchang.
And Young is his challenger. So
yeah. Let's hope, for Martins Ducours' sake, that the 3rd is a charm. Sun Bin Young 2nd here, Alexander Tretiakov 3rd, Axel Young the best of the rest in 4th ahead of Nikita Tregebov and Thomas Ducours. But the big story in that top 10 is Wen Changeng of China, 7th on his debut, and 11th for Vladislav Marchenkov on his debut. Jerry Rice, 15th on his debut in the World Cup. That is a great run from the young Brit as well. Wow, that is a great race in Lake Placid to start the season. Well, winter arrived overnight. Yesterday, the snow on the wall in front of you and the snow on the ground all around us was not there.
So there's some clearing, which means the sun's going to come out, and our 2 guys doing the shading and not liking seeing that sun come out, but you can see most of the track. The snow wasn't here yesterday, Martin. It was it was a little bit like an Indian summer, which is what we've had, but today winter has arrived.
Yep. You can put the golf clubs away and you can lift the boat out of the water, I think, for the final time. Had its last voyage a couple of days ago, didn't it? So
the boating is over too.
Summer is done, and so is our season opener for men's skeleton here in Lake Placid. Martins Ducours, we are going to have to go back again and start our tally from the beginning of this season, because you're right, he must be close to 50 wins in World Cup and World Championship. Of course, still eluding him is a win in the Winter Olympic Games, and his final shot at that comes up in February in Pyeongchang in Korea.
Well, we've had 192 sleds come down the track so far, Martin. We've only got 47 more to go. What do you think? You got enough left for 47 more? It means 239 sleds on the weekend.
Always. And the mercury is still sinking, isn't it? Look at that. Minus 5. What's that? Minus 5. No.
So it's like a 30-degree difference from yesterday.
Nearly minus 15. What? Yeah. It is a bitter, bitter day here in the Adirondack National Park. And yeah, the ski centers and everybody else now starting to rub their hands.
They just call it the Adirondack Park. They don't call it the National Park, although it is a national.
It is a national park.
Yeah, it's one of the largest national parks in the country.
Beautiful upstate New York.
The other side of the Big Apple.
Lake Placid, New York, the venue for the opening race of the Men's Skeleton World Cup for 2017-18. Martins Ducours, the points leader. He carries the yellow vest through from the end of last season when he won the Crystal Globe and wears it proudly again as we leave Lake Placid and head to our second race weekend in Park City, Utah in 7 days' time. And it was another victory on the Lake Placid track, which brings his career tally of gold medals here up to 5. Started with the 2012 Worlds, and he's barely been interrupted since. Only Matt Antoine and Alexander Tretyakov once each have managed to beat him. There's how the rest of the field finished, with rookies and experienced sliders, but healthy, fast as ever, and still just as humble, our race winner, Martins Ducours.
Been there, done that, continues to excel in the sport. We call him Superman because he has these superhuman efforts in the sport. He makes it look so easy. He's got a couple people trying to chase him down, including that guy from Korea, Mr. Young. And he's missed out on 2 Olympic Games in 2010 and 14 with silver medals. Those 3 right there, pretty good trifecta.
That's going to be your podium unless there is something very, very odd going on in Pyeongchang, Korea. Now, not necessarily in that order, but those 3 are going to be the trailblazers. Martins Ducours, Sun Min-young and Alexander Tretyakov, your top 3 here in the men's season opener in the skeleton competition. We move on with more BMW IBSF action next week in Park City, Utah. On behalf of John Morgan and the whole IBSF TV crew, I'm Martin Hayden saying thank you for joining us here in Lake Placid. We'll see you next time out.